Let me just make sure these guys are ready to start.
All right, whenever you are.
Okay, we are back, and we are pleased to be joined now by Indiana head coach Terry Moren. And Coach, if you want to start with an opening statement, and then we'll take questions.
Well, it's the best time of the year, as you guys know, and we're excited, first and foremost, to host such a terrific tournament. And this is historic for our program here in Indiana. And we look forward to having a great weekend, growing our women's basketball game with 4 terrific teams. And for the Hoosiers, it feels like there was a moment there where it seemed like all we were doing was playing, practicing, traveling, playing, and so forth. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break after the Big Ten tournament, and once again hit the reset button and look forward to a new season here in the NCAA tournament.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up to questions now. Reminder, please state your name and media outlet and raise your hand, and we will get going.
Seth Tao, Herald Times. As you've dove into Charlotte game planning specifically, I guess what are you looking for in this matchup, and what are some of the keys specific to this matchup going to be?
Well, we liken this team a lot to Ohio State in the Big Ten in terms of they're very guard-oriented. Have some transfers also on the roster, have the Player of the Year in the conference, of course, in Jet Wilson. So a terrific guard-oriented basketball team that's going to challenge us specifically off the bounce. They're going to challenge us in transition. And so, we have to be really good on that end, but we also have to take advantage, we think, offensively of our size going into this matchup.
Questions for Coach?
Matt Seabree, IDS. You mentioned how this is best time of the year, March Madness. Obviously, anything can happen at any game. How do you avoid being one of those early round upsets early on here?
Yeah, I don't know that our kids, obviously if you're a basketball player, you're paying attention to our men's, what's going on right now with all the upsets that happened yesterday on the men's side. And so before we watched film, just in talking with our guys, the message was, this is the best time of the year, but it's also a brand new tournament, and seeding doesn't matter. You throw that out the window. And if you're paying attention yesterday to what was happening on the men's side, that obviously was true, with some of the higher seeds getting beat. So we don't worry about that. Right now we're just worried about the Charlotte 49ers being in here. And our sole focus all week has been, just like it always has been, the one-game mentality, what's ahead of us. And we're just looking forward to being back on the floor tomorrow.
We'll go in the second row there.
Addie Miners at WLKY. Talk about the experience that this team brings after making that deep run last year in the tournament.
Well, yeah, obviously I don't think it's a secret to anybody that, we're experienced. We have a veteran group. I think Allie Patberg's the only 2 of, 7-year players that have had this opportunity. And so we're led by a super senior in Allie. Yeah, I think the experience in San Antonio was really good for us. It obviously gave us some experience. I think one of the things that happened was we understand the magnitude and the importance of every game. And the first game as I've always said, in tournament play is the most important because it can give you momentum going into the second and the third round and so forth. And so I think our kids understand that, but they understand it because they've lived it, they've gone through it, they've experienced it. You know, our leadership that we have in that locker room has been incredible throughout the season. I think we've had to go through some adversity, but I think it's only made this group stronger and more connected. And so I think, you know, you're going to see a team tomorrow that plays with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, love for one another, and they're certainly connected. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they're old.
Go first row on the left.
Indiana Daily student. You've talked about obviously having a crowd here. Now you're going to get to play in front of them in an NCAA tournament game. But where do you kind of draw the line between, you know, soaking in the crowd and the environment and also focusing on what's on the court and telling your players to, you know, focus on the game?
Well, the great thing is we've been sort of spoiled all year, you know, with great crowds in the hall. And, you know, we've had some from Kentucky to NC State, you know, to all the terrific teams in the Big, you know, that have been big games for us. Hoosier Nation has continued to turn out for us. And so, you know, I don't know that our kids will be caught up in that. I think that they're more caught up in the fact that, or looking forward to the energy that'll be in the building. And that's what they talk about, whether they're talking to a recruit's parents, they're talking amongst each other. It's just the energy that's always in the building each night that we've played. And I think because of the success that we've had, you know, starting, you know, when we did win the NIT championship, when we were gaining more fans, you know, our fan base has grown since we've been here. And I think it's more of just an excitement that, you know, we know what to expect now because of the crowds that have been in here.
Terry, Mike Merritt from Associated Press. When you talk about the NIT championship, the growing crowds, the historic nature of having games here, what is the significance of having the games here, and what does that do for your program?
Well, I think the significance is in our second year when, you know, we were sent to Notre Dame, and where they were hosting the first round and, you know, beat a really good Georgia team, but then got into the final game against Notre Dame. And there's clearly a home court advantage, you know, when you have the opportunity to host, and that's what we have here. And so that's you know, one of the things we're looking forward to. Yeah, I think, again, we've had a lot of historic moments since we've been here in our 8 years at Indiana. It's just another thing that we can add, you know, to what we're building here, you know, what we've been able to accomplish, understanding that, you know, our job is still far from being complete in terms of what we want to do here and accomplish here. But like I said, I think it's just another thing for us to be able to say in the recruiting process, especially that we're checking off a lot of things that we said that we wanted to accomplish, but yet humbly knowing that we still have a lot of work to do.
She may not get all the accolades that players like Grace or Max sometimes get, but I guess how important of a role does Alexa play on this team, and how mentally tough has she had to be, I guess, to thrive so far from home?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. She should have been on the all-defensive team when the Big Ten honors came out. She was on the second team, which was great, you know, all conference. But she's so terrific. The things that she does, and Seth, you've heard me say this before, don't show up on the stat sheets. They never do. In terms of how integral, you know, how important she is for us defensively, in terms of our rotations, and in terms of being able to switch ball screens, her ability to protect the rim, her ability to alter shots. And then offensively, her ability to stretch you out, knock down shots. This has certainly been her breakout year for her in terms of her productivity on the offensive side of the ball. You know, and so it may not, she may not get the accolades, from media and outside people, but, she's certainly been, I don't know if MVP for us is the right term, but right up there with, she's been so significant this season in particular to why we've had the success that we've had. I wish I could keep her around another year. I just don't know that we're going to have the ability to do that.
We've got a couple questions on Zoom that we're going to take, starting with Haley Jordan. Haley, if you want to come on now and ask your question.
Hi, Coach. Haley Jordan, Sports Illustrated. A follow-up from earlier about Allie's leadership. She's been a part of 5 NCAA tournaments in some shape or form, even at Notre Dame. How valuable is her leadership and just her postseason knowledge, and how is that going to carry you throughout the tournament?
Well, I hope it'll carry us far. As I mentioned, as good of a player that Allie Patberg is, she's even a better person, better teammate, and I think that's what makes her so special. Is she truly believes in relationships, not only with me and our staff, but also with her teammates, and I think that's what separates her from some of the best leaders. She walks the walk and she talks the talk, and it's by example and the work that she does outside of practice, but it's also in how she pours into her teammates, in the locker room, on the floor, when they need encouragement, they need challenged. She's been so terrific, in that space for our players, and so it's going to be really important. But it'll be also important that Grace Berger shows her leadership, and Nikki shows some leadership, and Lex. All of them at some point are going to have the opportunity to step up and be leaders this weekend.
We're going to take another question on Zoom from James K. James, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hey, Coach. James K. from The Next. Just coming off of the Big Ten tournament, it did seem like you all were able to get things back on track despite the final result, obviously. But is there anything that you're hoping that the team takes from that tournament and bring it over to the NCAA tournament?
Well, I hope we continue to play as well as we did in that tournament. I think coming into it, we knew that we hadn't faced Rutgers in 2 years. And so that was going to be a tall test for us, because normally you've had at least the opportunity to see a Big Ten opponent at some point during the season, and we didn't have that. So that was a challenge that we stepped up to, and then obviously beating Maryland and then Ohio State, just playing really good basketball. Yes, we didn't finish the job against Iowa, and we could chalk that up. I was terrific, but I think maybe fatigue set in a little bit for us in that fourth game. We're not about excuses, but I think we learned that we have to be able to approach every game, and especially in this tournament. We understand that, and it was a lot like the Big Ten tournament. You don't get past the first one, you go home, you're done. So we understand the significance of tournament play, whether it's in the Big Ten or NCAA. But my hope for our group is that we continue to play good basketball, and that's certainly what we did last week in Indianapolis.
Any other questions for Coach Moren?
Thank you, guys.
Seeing none, thank you. Reminder, Indiana's practice starting at 11:30 will be open for the first 15 minutes for media.